Good morning, everyone. I'm Julianna Jaffe Leven, and welcome to Awakening Wednesdays. For those of you who are not familiar with this forum, what we do here is just spend a few minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, talking about planting seeds of possibility and exploring tools to bring us closer to our true hearts, the voice inside that tells us our deepest truth, to make life a little easier, more pleasant, and a lot lighter. So thank you. Thanks for joining me today. As always, let's start off just getting present and taking a moment. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. And we're going to focus on exhaling. It's easier to do in the beginning before we inhale. So just extending and emphasizing a nice long exhale. With the intention of blowing out any tension, whatever doesn't serve, anything we're carrying that's not useful to us. And then allowing a nice, easy inhale to follow that. Let's do that again. And one more. And with those few simple breaths, you may be already feeling a little settling, a little easing of the nervous system. It's such a simple practice and something you can do anytime, anywhere. Nobody needs to know you're doing it. So, today is interesting. I had an idea come to me, and then I'm getting flooded with lots of information. So I'm going to walk my way through so I don't overwhelm and overload and know there's lots there that we can talk about on other days. And so it began, I don't know if you can hear or not, that I've had a cold. And no big deal, right? But what I was aware of is as I'm on my journey, consciously choosing more and more not to be thrown off track. Like historically, I have a cold, it don't feel good, it gets a little more intense, goes into my lungs, kind of takes over my whole life. And most importantly, it takes over my spirit, my sense of well-being. And with this cold, which I've had just about a week now, I really consciously, I was feeling so good. Like a lot is going well in my life. I'm liking where I am. I'm centered. And I didn't want to give it over to the cold this time. And I've witnessed myself as I've been walking through this. You know, I get a little whiny sometimes. Like, I don't want to keep coughing all the time. And, you know, I'm human. And but I haven't gotten pulled down with it. And, you know, for any of us who've been around this conscious journey for a while, you know, we hear these phrases over and over again, you know, about staying steady in the storm and, you know, we create our reality and all kinds of things. And so often those phrases, which I always say cliches become cliches because they have a lot of truth in them. But often they can almost sound like condemnations, you know, like, so if I'm not feeling really good and I got down with a cold, you know, does that mean I didn't do it good enough? Does that mean I'm not evolved enough? Does that mean I, you know, succumbed? And so it's kind of funny as we move along on the journey and start to get, I always say, you know, and I have a wonderful client who really has taught me a lot about baby steps, just taking one more little step and one more little step and one more little step. And then the day comes and you go, oh my God, I'm really living this in a different space than I have before. And wow, that feels so good. And the word resilience came to me this morning as, you know, I was getting so many different sources of information coming in. And I used to have a colleague I shared office space with, and man, resilience was his watchword. He just saw that as just the core root of people finding happiness and being able to sustain. And I came to a new appreciation as I worked in side by side with John. And what I've realized recently is when we talk about resilience, we often think about the big times, the illnesses that kind of knock us down, the life events that are so traumatic. And what is it to come back from those? What is it to find our resilience? And what I was aware of today was the little spaces, the little resiliences that add up to our life. And I was reminded, there's a teacher I was listening to quite a lot a number of years back, and she talked about regularly the stream of well-being that runs under everything. And, excuse me, let me just take a sip of water here. And that at any time, we could take ourselves, she would say, to the water's edge and put our raft in the water and let that stream of well-being take us down the river, which is where everything we want is waiting for us. And she would talk about how we're so used to the Western culture belief that you have to work hard. And if you don't work hard for something, then it's probably not worth it. And she was introducing the concept that everything we wanted was downstream. And so all of that was kind of culminating, kind of like all interweaving for me today. Because that stream of well-being, as I've continued to evolve in how I perceive things and how I live with things, is that source of love that runs, that is all of us, that is the connective tissue of all of us, and is, when I talk about what our true voice, where we connect. And I just kind of felt like small movements, not big movements. Those are wonderful. I love them. And I think life is lived in the small moments and in the small movements and small steps of dipping back into that stream of well-being. Dipping back into feeling supported. Dipping back into knowing I'm going to make it through this moment. And realizing so much, there's so much talk about manifestation and being conscious manifestors for those of you who've been around this whole exploration. I read something recently that I loved very much. And one of the main ways we are manifestors isn't that we change what's outside of us. What we do is we manifest how we experience that. What story are we living in regards to what's outside of us? That's where our power lies. That's where we dip back in to this stream of well-being, to this ocean of love that we are a part of. So I really felt it this time. What story was I telling myself about this cold? I had a story for many years. Oh my God, they always go into an upper respiratory infection for me. I'm going away next week. I don't want to be sick, all that kind of thing. And I went, no, I don't really want to live in that one this time. This is a cold. It's crappy. Colds are much more disruptive than we like, and it's going to pass. And in the meantime, I'm going to treat myself really well. Not like I have to live in cotton batting. And not like I have to just carry on, like whatever I was going to do, I'm going to do. I found myself resting more and actually allowing myself to nap and being so relaxed that I could fall asleep. I usually don't fall asleep in the day. And the cold is passing pretty uneventfully. And I have been having an extraordinary week while I've been walking with the cold. A miracle. A big miracle? Maybe not for the world. For me it is. So remember, walk the small moments, make the small changes, dip back in to that stream of well-being that runs under everything. And be aware, what story am I telling myself about this moment? And do I want to keep telling the same story? Or do I want a different story? Small choices over and over and over again lead to huge changes and to miracles. Wishing you a week filled with miracles. Take good care. Bye now.